And I look over at my cousin Chris's computer, and he's like, "Oh, I'm playing World of Warcraft," and I'd never heard of it, and I was like, "Wow."
Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
Yeah, I would say Blood Elf is my favorite race. Whenever I was first playing and I looked at all the characters, I didn't know the first thing about like racials or not too much of the story right then. But what made me play a Blood Elf character was I liked the way that armor and stuff looked on them the best. What what drove me away from like orcs and taurens and kind of the undead was it didn't look like me or like look like a human. You know what I'm saying? It kind of like defaulted to me like, okay, I'm gonna play a blood elf. Once I started to learn more about the game, I learned about like racials and stuff like that. Stuff about the like the race and like the storyline. Whenever I learned that blood elves had a silence as well as like a energy or mana booster as their racial, I was like, yo, this is kind of broken because I'm a rogue player, so like having that extra like thing back in the day, it was, in my opinion, it made them like the best class for that, and it was my favorite or like favorite race. One thing that also interested me about Blood Oaths as a class was I played a lot of Warcraft 3, and I love doing the storylines on those. But what interested me was I knew of like the Blood Elves or like the Elves from Warcraft, and from Warcraft 3, they were the High Elves where they were kind of like enslaved by the humans as well as they worked with them, some by choice, some not. Eventually, like, they became the Blood Oaths for like their thirst of blood and stuff like that. Like they were like really strong warriors. So like that interested me because it was familiar. Like, okay, I already kind of know this. You know what I mean? So I was more drafted towards that. And once I started learning like more about like the other like Blood Oaths and people in the game, like Lord Thamar being the leader, learning about Kael'thas Sunstrider and his story, it just made it made me more interested in the race as a whole, in comparison to other classes or races such as like Taurens or Trolls or the Undead story. I would definitely say like Blood Elves have, my opinion, the coolest lore out of all the races except Orc, and they look the coolest with armor. There's some fucking like really cool blood elves though. Like some big like really in the lore and have like really cool stories. Like funny enough, the first one that comes to my head is not Kael'thas, but it's Malygos. It like the crazed aspect who he kind of like, yeah, like went crazy with like his blue magic, his blue order magic, and was just like, oh, I'm gonna fucking kill everything, and just kind of with the kill in the eye of eternity. His story, like how they explain it like through like character bubble, like chat bubbles and like the books, it's really well written. He's probably like like one of the first cool ones I could think of. Another one would be like Kael'thas naturally. I always liked Kael'thas in Warcraft 3, but like as a kid, I didn't really grasp, at least not when I was playing World of Warcraft, that he was a bad guy. Like I knew like, oh, we have to go defeat him in like a raid or like whatever the fuck. But what I remembered from Warcraft 3 was he wasn't as like crazy or kind of like mad and prideful about everything. Which I guess the time between the that storyline and the Burning Crusade, I'm sure some shit happened that they explained in like the books. But he definitely has some of the coolest ones, and it was really see Blizzard continue it in the Venthyr quest line. Seeing him come back for Shadowlands, and it's like, oh, this guy's a super arrogant fuck, so we're gonna send you here and suck the arrogantness out of you until there's no more, and you're a good person. Like that's definitely a really cool story. I would definitely say out of all of the places in World of Warcraft, the one place that definitely feels most like home and is my favorite is definitely Eversong Woods. Because whenever I started playing this game, 'cause I started playing real young, what got me into it, besides like like all the cool colors and abilities and stuff, was the story. And me being a little kid, I don't know how to like play a video game like a MMO, so I was just running around, looking at flavor text and like reading like quest descriptions, and like the little, like when you right click somebody, they have like a little thing like, oh, hello traveler, like stuff like that. That is what made me like definitely enjoy the game. But I definitely got most of that enjoyment in Eversong Woods. I always just love the music. It always really hit home with me. The color palette of the whole place is definitely something that's most of my liking. That like gold, yellow, pink haze, like that fade kind of color. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's always definitely hit home. It's definitely the only place that that really feels like home at that. Yo, but if we're being honest, the number one best thing about the starting zone, Sunshatter Isles and Neversong Woods, there's fucking cats, dude. They're just walking around, just just being all adorable, guarding the place from the real enemies. And they just walk like they got little faces, they got like little feet. It's fantastic. The first time I ever got introduced to World of Warcraft, I think I was about to turn 8, so I was like 7. So I went over to my grandparents' house with my brother because occasionally we would go there. They had like this big field. We always fuck around. Like we had a tractor. We drive around stuff. But we went over this time. We always went to go bug our cousins, our two cousins, and we go in the room one day, and I look over at my cousin Chris's computer, and he is in the middle of in a Rathi Basin battleground playing mage. So what I saw in that moment, like when I first looked at the computer, like I opened the door, I saw him in the middle of a fight. It was like the whole team fighting. Everybody was fighting at a blacksmith. The only experience I've had in my life then with like video game where it was like multiple people playing in like one like big fighting setting, I think was like Star Wars Battlefront. So like seeing that in World of Warcraft, I've never seen anything like it. Like that was so cool to me. I'd never seen it. He had like his action bars at the bottom of his screen, and like the old UIs, like the original, and it was just all filled with all these buttons with different colors and pictures, and they had like little letters next to them that like they were keybinds. I didn't know what they were, and all this timers going off and stuff, and it was so like alien and wondrous to me. And I asked him, I was like, yo, what? I was like, dude, what are you playing? And he's like, oh, I'm playing World of Warcraft. And I'd never heard of it, and I was like, wow. Eventually, my brother, he got a World of Warcraft account. Mind you, it was his. I'm his little brother, so I got to play it. And we had a computer in our dad's room, like one of those like old box computers where like the screen's like 16 inches, maybe like 14. It weighs like 80 pounds. And we would go in there. I would always see my brother playing, and I'll be like, oh, I would say, oh, it's my turn to play, it's my turn. Even though I never had a turn, but I just really just wanted to play the game. So like, what I would do was like on like days like before school, and especially weekends, I would try to be like the first one to wake up. So like I'll try to like sneak out of bed, get on the computer for like 3 hours or whatever. Sometimes I'd wake up like too late, and as I'm trying to get out of bed, my fucking brother would just run to the computer instead. Like we ended up fighting about it. And they're like, it was that serious. Like I wanted to play that much. I got my own account. It was a while before I got my own account. I was playing on technically his for about 6 years. We started playing in Burning Crusade. I want to say like the very tail end. I started like playing quote unquote was like Wrath of the Lich King, and like what I mainly made like a Blood Oath character. I would just like level over and over and over again because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So I get to like level 8 to delete the character. Get to like level 6, delete the character, make like a warrior this time. Get to like level 12, get to like the new area, and I was like, oh, whoa, what the fuck is this? Like I've never been here. It was some of like the like funnest memories I had as a kid was like being introduced to WoW, not knowing what I'm doing, and then there's this big open world that like you can interact with everything. Like knowing that as like a kid, that man, that was so fucking cool. Like it's all I wanted to do. I'm not exactly sure what it is that's been keeping me playing WoW for so long, because it's been basically like 14, probably going on 15 years I've been playing this game. And that's a long time for like anybody's life, and I'm fucking 22. You know what I mean? And I guess what keeps me here is, whenever shit gets stressful or like shit gets down, you know what I'm saying? That this game has always been there to like keep my spirits up, put a smile on my face, whether it's doing like battlegrounds with a bunch of people or doing arenas, trying to practice like my own stuff or doing raids. It's definitely something that's always put a smile on my face, even at high points in my life and low points. One thing I think Blizzard could add to keep people playing longer, for what they would need to add to keep people from playing for longer points of time, is not necessarily like a system, like a brand new like format or like a new currency or something like that. I think the best thing that would keep people in tune with the game and make it more lively is they gotta add like the magic and substance back into it. You know what I mean? Like you ever do a quest and you take the end of the Death Knight intro quest line where there's like the little war who lights Hope Chapel, right? Everybody who has a horse mount, they have their swords unsheathed, riding the horse, all like Horsemen of the Apocalypse type shit. And that shit's so cool. But we can't do that for some fucking reason. I don't get it. And like and besides like, cosmetic things like, changing where you can like hold your weapon when you're riding the sword, or like, adding more facial features, they could also add like different flavors of the content they had. Like I remember back in Cataclysm, I think, where it was Baron and Hold came out. And the premise of Baron and Hold was, if I got my raid correctly, it was the PvP raid where there was like 3 bosses. First of all, it was a PvP raid, which is an oxymoron for World of Warcraft, right? But it was a raid that gave you like basically, I think it was conquest level gear at the time. Maybe it was higher. I don't exactly remember. Not only was it something for the PvP players to do and like grind for, it was a 3 boss raid. What I feel like what makes people like not play as much as Blizzard wants is like people get tired or burnt out, especially nowadays with everything being fads. Like what I think they could add to like really put some flavor in the game is like, all right, we're about to go into Dragonflight, and we're about to go into the new raid, Vault of the Incarnates. What will be a very good idea is between the next raid they add, just add a 1 or 2 boss raid and just make it retardedly difficult. You know what I mean? Make it where like even the top guilds are taking like 250 plus wipes to kill it. Like make it like absolutely mage level tower nuts. Like add it where people have like, make it where it's like a block and it's something to progress, but make it something really fun. Like make it a really fun fight. Like something like Halandris and Sepulchre. That was a really cool fight. Or even the first fight in the one Yulduar, like fights like that. Make it something like that, but just make it super difficult. Things like that. It would definitely drag people more into the game. Like things like Mage Tower, adding like the Sylvanas skin to Blood Elves, like little things like that adding the magic back into the game, that is a step in the right direction. And instead of taking steps, they just need to be running in that direction at this point. Just go crazy. Like add a little thing here, add this color eyes here. Make it where this race has a new joke. Like little things like that. It would just add the magic back into it. Make a lot of people really. My favorite piece of content in World of Warcraft to do, even though that's completely dead now, is easily rated Battlegrounds. Because my favorite thing to do was always PvP. I never started doing like raid content and like dungeons seriously until like this expansion. I kind of experimented back in Legion, but I never like took it seriously. So I always did PvP. But I always thought whenever they added rated Battlegrounds to World of Warcraft, I thought that was the most like genius idea that they ever did. I always like the idea of like a team and you have an objective. It's like 1 in 1,000 games that people take it seriously, like ever, like a battleground. But those games where it is, it's really fun. And whenever they added battlegrounds, that's all I wanted to do. In Pandaria, our guild that we had kind of imploded, and it was me and this other officer chosen Jarun, and we were like we were the leaders of the RBG team of the previous guild before it imploded. So what we did was we kind of went around to all of the people who were on the team, and we were like, hey, so there's gonna be a movement of all like the PvP players going into this new guild that we're gonna focus specifically on rated battlegrounds. Everybody was like, fuck yeah, we're gonna do that. Back then, having like, what was it, 15 people or like 10 people all on the same mindset in a Warsong Gulch, like everybody playing positions and getting like the heat, like this person gets the healer, this person runs the flag, and like I always thought that was so fun. Whenever we did like Eye of the Storms, I was always the runner because I played Rogue, and Rogues had Shadow Step. So what I would do was I would have somebody wait like halfway on the bridge on the Horde side, and I would grab the flag. I would like stealth in, grab the flag, shadow step onto that person, and then I would sprint away. Then once my sprint ran out, I would have our druid chosen go in his cat form. I immediately like drop it once my sprint like goes down, and he would pick it up and do his cat sprint, and we would like instant cap like under like few seconds. And it became so fun, like taking like the PvP aspect and kind of like mid-maxing it, like trying to find all the best ways to coordinate as a team. And I really wish it was more in the spotlight, like how Raid and MDI is nowadays, because it would, if it came back like in the forefront of like World of Warcraft content, I would so easily go back to running my RPG team and getting like a top team running. One character that really sticks out to me in lore is definitely Yasharj, old god from Pandaria, because all the old gods had like their own kind of like story to them. Like Cthulhu could like see into like all of the void and like everything that is, and Yogg-Saron was like the fucking strongest and could like mentally fuck up the entire world if they looked at him type shit. N'Zoth, even though he was the weakest, he was the one that like really brought the dream of the Black Empire to like back to life. Yasharj was so fucking powerful. The Titans, when they were like in their forms, like way back when they were like the size of planets, Amin-Thul, the Titans didn't know how to cleanse Azeroth of the old gods, and the first one they dealt with was Yasharj. So Amin-Thul looks at all of them, and at the time these are like the Black Empire's alive, and for example, Yogg-Saron, if I'm not mistaken, he could be like the size of fucking Northrend. Like the old gods are like massive. So like they're looking at all these things on this planet, like little pimples there, and they're like, oh fuck, we're gonna destroy this or else it's gonna corrupt this Titan soul. And if the void corrupts a planet with a Titan soul, that is like the strongest thing in the universe, like stronger than Starry Air shit. So Amin-Thul, out of desperation, he just puts his hand inside of Pandaria and completely rips out Yasharj from the planet. And the thing about old gods is you can't kill them, because if you quote unquote kill them, they will leave permanent damage to the world soul of the sleeping titan. So whenever they did this to Yasharaj, like the entire land was bleeding with black blood, and there was like a hole like where the shrine of the seven suns or moons city is. You know, like where you enter siege the raid, like it's like in that area type shit. And like his heart was there that later on Garrosh takes and does nothing wrong with the heart A, B, C, and D. Yashar Arj is definitely a character that sticks out to me because all of the old gods are old gods. You know what I mean? They're like, I would say they're stronger than like anything we dealt with, probably even Zaval. The fact that Yashar Arj was so strong, he had to be literally deleted, unlike the rest of them that just got imprisoned. That always stuck out to me the most, and I always thought that was a really cool, like little tidbit of story, for a character. When I think of how the game has progressed over the years, I would definitely say that they have been trying to add. They've been trying to make it, maybe not complicated. They've definitely been making it like way more kind of, how you say, alienated, and adding all these new features and different types of mechanics to like what have you. And I would honestly say for the most part, it's been beneficial for World of Warcraft and what they do, because when the game was first starting, they were infamous from taking shit from like other MMOs that were out at the time, like EverQuest, RuneScape, like taking systems, making it like their own and making it better. And that was one thing that like Blizzard Entertainment did really good whenever it came to MMOs, was kind of stealing people's ideas and making a better version of it. Which honestly, they need to get back to doing that like ASAP. Yeah, like especially during like the like 6 month time period where everybody kind of switched to like Final Fantasy, and a lot of people did switch to like Final Fantasy for good. Some people came back. I mean, I played it for like 2 weeks just to go to the casino. I'm being serious. They could take a lot of things that Final Fantasy does and make it even better. Like, dude, could you imagine having a World of Warcraft casino? That'd be fucking hard. Something like the Brawlgar Arena, they need to add more stuff like that, dog. Like little fun stuff to do on the side. Cause Brawlgar Arena, that was some really cool shit. The game, if it's been changing positively for like the stuff they've been coming up originally, but I think they're taking a step in the right direction, adding like way more cosmetic and like not end game content for people to do in the MMO. And I feel like as long as they continue to up the momentum of pushing that kind of content for the game, it's only going to get better. Cause sure, you can make a phenomenal raid, or you can have a really great lineup for a season of dungeons, or you can have a new battleground that's really cool and it has a bunch of cool colors. But how nice is it of a thought that, oh, I just got done chopping out a whole bunch of heads and pushing my rating. I'm gonna go to the fucking dragon spa, put my feet up, get little cucumbers on my face and shit, toes out, like little things like that. Or, oh, I want to go test my metal with the other brawlers in Orgrimmar. I want to go to fucking, what is it, Gallywix's palace and go play golf. Like, they just, if they keep adding things like that to the game, and they do it at the same rate they push real content, it would make the game so much better. One goal that I really want to set myself for the new expansion was those Shadowlands from like Sanctum of Domination till now. It was the only time that I really ever like took a real approach into raiding and doing Mythic Plus and like doing PvE content. And I enjoyed it a lot. It was also like my first time ever playing caster, which I've never played it in like all my years playing this game, and it was a great time. I'm having a great time with it. But seeing with season 4 how I was able to get to like number 2 in my cluster before I like took a break to go play classic for a while. I climbed back up to like number 6 before the season ended, which Yeah, I didn't really care too much, but because I knew that I had ability to push and hold number one, so I'm making it a goal that each season of Dragonflight I want to at least be in the top 5 for my class in the cluster. You know, as like a minimum thing to two, but I would really like to constantly be in the top 3, maybe like hold top 1 for the cluster of warlocks. Like I just kind of make it the goal to like make sure I'm at the top of like whatever kind of metric or leaderboard that there is. You know, just something to push. You know, something else to grind for besides like a piece of gear or a title or achievement. You know, it just adds an extra flavor to the game to me. You know, different level of competition. And I'm definitely excited to get into the new expansion. A lot of the stuff they're doing. A lot of the new raids are looking really good. A lot of the boss fights are looking even better, and I'm just excited, man. I can't really say much else about it besides I'm ready to kick some ass in this new season and the rest of this time in How to Train Your Dragon Flight.